This is HERkys Voice, a conversation with special Hawkeye guests focusing on the stories and people behind Hawkeye athletics. Now, here's the host of HERkys Voice, Iowa women's tennis coach, Sasha Schmid.
Welcome to HERkys Voice. Wow, what a weekend we just finished. It was the first Iowa football game and Fry Fest, all having themes celebrating 50 years of Iowa women's athletics. It's so incredible to see the support of the athletic department and our community celebrating the importance of sport in the lives of women. I had the chance to sit down with my colleagues and coaches of women's gymnastics, women's golf, women's wrestling, and women's crew at Fry Fest on Friday morning in front of a live audience and have a HERkys Voice podcast conversation about 50 years of Iowa women's athletics. We had the chance to talk about the beginnings of new seasons and always the optimism at the start of the season for what's ahead. The incredible impact that our viewing of the Unshakable Belief, the documentary on Christine Grant, had on each of us and our teams. We looked ahead at what we hope to see in the next 50 years of Iowa women's athletics at Iowa. I was so happy to be joined by my good friends for this conversation, and I hope you enjoy it. It was in front of a live audience and the audio will sound different, but I hope you can still enjoy this conversation where we are celebrating so many things from the past and the future. Welcome to HERkys Voice at Fry Fest. We are so excited to be here today. We have a coaches roundtable panel, and I want to make some introductions. We are thrilled to be here with all of you celebrating 50 years of Iowa women's athletics. Joining me today on HERkys Voice with a live audience is our women's gymnastics coach, Larissa Libby.
Hi, everybody.
Clarissa Chung, our women's wrestling coach.
Hello. Hi, everyone.
Megan Menzel, our coach of Iowa women's golf. And Jeff Garbett, the coach of the Iowa women's rowing program. It's so exciting to see everybody here and start another year and the first weekend of Iowa football. I wanted to be able just to kind of acknowledge what an amazing relationship we have here at the University of Iowa and the athletic department with our community. This event would not be possible without the great support of the city of Coralville, our leaders in Iowa City, and the partnership between the community and the athletic department. Fry Fest is such an incredible tradition. And just driving in here today, did everybody see the Title IX 1X in the roundabout? Yes. What do you think about that?
So cool.
So awesome.
It's incredible. And so what I really thought would be fun to do is just take a moment today as we start a new season and reflect a little bit on new beginnings. Each one of our coaches has something incredibly exciting to celebrate. I wanted to start with Clarissa, who for the first time in the history of Iowa athletics, we now have women wrestlers on campus.
Yeah, I'm so excited. Our team is so excited too.
Give us a little update and tell us a little bit about the team. It was so exciting to see them signing autographs over here and the line around the corner to be able to get their autographs.
Woo, yeah, super exciting. We have 15 female athletes that are here on our program. Yeah, it's just getting them started. They're all waving. Woo! They're super excited to be here. This is like something like they've never experienced before, as well as so this is awesome.
There were some people in line.
Woo! There you go. They're excited.
I couldn't help but notice the people that were in line getting the roster signed for the first time, and it did not escape anybody that is a historical document to be able to have the first roster. That will be up in a lot of living rooms in Iowa Hawkeye dens and basements around the state, I'm sure.
Yeah, I had to get one myself, right?
Save one for Clarissa.
Yeah.
Okay, so Larissa has an amazing tradition, which I've always really admired. When you come back to campus and you bring all your team back, you always start a year with an amazing team bonding trip. This year was no different. Tell us a little bit about getting the girls back on campus and about how women's gymnastics always starts a season.
Well, first of all, thanks again for asking us to be here. So exciting. Probably Clarissa and I should like sit way apart because every time you say her name, I turn and I think it's me that you're talking to. So, and looks like we have rivals now. We're normally the loudest on campus, and I'm really excited that we're going to be rivaled by women's wrestling with this. We do. We always come back, and we have had an incredible team. Just graduate. We had 7 graduates, and they were the heart and soul of this team. So starting again is like rough. They were the precedent setters, the culture holders, the philosophy owners. So we always take a bonding trip, is what we call it, life skills. But we try to get away from the city. We always go away. We love Iowa City, but you need to get away from your fans, your family, your friends, just so that you can concentrate and focus on ourselves. So we go away for like 2-3 days. And really unplug and just learn about each other as people, who we are, what we like to do, what drives us. And it's really about integrating our freshmen into the culture. I don't have team captains. So for us as coaches and our entire staff, it's the way for us to figure out who emerges as leaders. I think that everybody has leadership qualities. If I name people, I feel like they get squashed. Everybody has the opportunity to be a leader on our team. It's just all in different ways. And so by the end of 3 days, it's pretty amazing what you see emerge from all of those, including the freshmen. I was blown away by the amount of conversation that came from our young kids. So I went in there really scared, and I came out fired up because they are ready to go. They have never honestly been more in sync coming out of this, and we always say if we don't come out of this and get it, we're going to struggle, and they get it. So keeping the struggle behind this year.
Oh, that's so exciting. I've always admired your team and the connective issue, the way that you guys have worked through difficult topics, difficult times, the leadership that you have, Larissa, and the way that your team is a family. And I think opening every season like that sets the tone. Yeah, so very, very exciting. So
Pulling out of the page of that.
we'll go ahead and let me move over to women's crew. Garbett getting his headset on here. So Jeff, you joined us mid-year last year. So officially this fall is your first fall as a head coach here at the University of Iowa. That is pretty exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great group of young women I get to work with every day. Coming in last year, mid-season or mid-year was a little bit difficult to hit the ground running, but then we hit our stride and we improved every single week and finished 2 places higher than we did the year before in the Big Ten Championship. So the majority of the roster comes back, so super excited to see what we're able to do this year with a full year under our belts.
And I got to tell you, Jeff and Megan have some of the best views here as coaching, because I got a text from Jeff the other day and you're just like out there on the river.
It's the office.
That's
the
pretty nice
now.
office.
It's pretty good views for sure.
So Megan's got also a pretty nice office. Megan is starting another fall, definitely a veteran here on our coaching staff. And one of the things I know you're excited about, Megan, is your incoming freshmen and just really being able to build on some great solid returners, and excited about the future.
Yes, absolutely. We're very excited. Our freshmen have come in really ready to play. They had outstanding summers. They really did what we asked them to do as far as competing on the national level. And luckily, you kind of have to get through some qualifying to get to some of those tournaments. And we got some great exposure, not only for our program, but also great experience for them to bring in, to our roster. And so they've come in. They have lofty goals. They're excited to work together. And we really have a great veteran crew to welcome them, embrace them, and to work together. And I think we're very excited about the upcoming year.
So it's a very exciting year. So on top of all of the things that you guys have starting within your programs, we are also in the midst of an incredible special time period of anniversaries. So we're celebrating the 50 years of Title IX. That's been an exciting celebration throughout our country on many different campuses, already acknowledging how great it is for the city of Coralville to also be celebrating 50 years of Title IX and what it's meant to all of us and our student athletes. But also, we are now coming into a year that we are celebrating 50 years of Iowa women's athletics. And sitting at this table, I'm the one person here who was here when we celebrated 25 years of Iowa women's athletics. And so these celebrations are near and dear to my heart. And, I am honored to be able to be here in this special anniversary year. We have so many exciting things planned with the athletic department throughout the year, where we're going to be recognizing the accomplishments of Iowa women's athletics over 50 years. And it starts tomorrow at the football game. And I'm just kind of curious about your thoughts about this anniversary, what it means to you and your team. And there will be on-field recognition of our student athletes tomorrow, and I've always found that to be a very, very cool experience. So tell me what you're doing in your team and what your messaging is with your team in terms of this anniversary and what it means for the kids to understand the history.
Well, we're also having our first annual reunion for women's rowing. We're approaching the 30th anniversary of rowing here at the University of Iowa. So we'll have a large group of women coming back to this evening to start off with a reception and then breakfast, tailgate before the game, and they'll be there for the game. But for our team, we really talk a lot about Dr. Grant and what her vision was for women's athletics. And, we have a very special boat. We always will have a boat named after Dr. Grant for the things that she did for women's athletics to kind of move forward. And, in this year where we celebrate Title IX, I think about my own sport. And, our sport, I think all of our sports give opportunity to young women to do what they do. But I obviously have a little bit different take on our sport. And we offer opportunity to women that have rowed in high school, but we also offer opportunity to women in Iowa to learn about a new sport, to have an opportunity to go to college and participate here at the University of Iowa. So very honored to be able to do that for the young women of Iowa. And, from Waverly, Iowa, all the way to Wellington, New Zealand, where our roster is represented, so we're a little bit worldwide.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'm probably the longest one here now, so.
The most tenured coach, Larissa Libby.
The most experienced, yes. We'll just go with that. I think what an amazing time in our lifetime to be able to celebrate this. Just when it's happening, that some of the amazing sports stories around the world are happening right now as we're celebrating 50 years. Title IX is such a huge thing. Dr. Grant is so important in breaking those walls down and removing barriers that you really didn't even know existed. Allison Felix, Serena Williams. Some of the most amazing female stories are happening right now. So sad to see Serena working on retiring. I'm hoping she doesn't get to retire for at least a week. But for our team, we're going to be unveiling our season theme soon, and it will certainly be special for us and indicating the understanding of our past and how it brings us. I think for us, we always try to celebrate these moments, but more internally. I want my kids to grow. I want them to be, I don't want them to be ignorant when they leave of how important all of these things are. Yes, we want to win. Yes, we want titles. But I need them to understand where they came from, because you cannot know where you go unless you know where you came from. So we've spent a lot of time just on our staff just trying to devise different things, different stories, different ways that we can have them experience what it would have been like. Not what it's like now, but what it would have been like had you not had this opportunity. When we sat and watched, and we'll talk about that later, we'll talk about that later. I'm not going to bring that up. We'll talk about that later.
I want to hear your thoughts. Yeah, I think you're talking about the Unshakable Belief documentary. And
yes, but I know that you want to talk about that,
do.
so we're just going to push that aside.
I do. It links, though, doesn't it?
It
all
does.
links.
It
really
does.
does. I know.
Yeah.
Clarissa.
when I got here, I heard about Dr. Christine Grant, and just knowing very little about who she is and what she's done, because, still learning about everything Iowa. And when the documentary came out, I knew it was very important for our whole team to be there, to try to capture a little bit more of who she is, who she was, and what she's done, right? I think it's important for our athletes to understand, what it was like, 50 years ago, 40 years ago, 30 years ago. Women's wrestling has been around at the world level since 1987, right? So, but, it's only now that it's starting to really take off in the U.S. and, it sparked ideas, within our program, within our team, inspired them. They, as a team, we're trying to build the culture from scratch, right? It's like we're laying the foundation. It's the first program. How do we want to represent women's wrestling? And Coach Mayab and I got it going, but we want our athletes to, start thinking how they want to move it forward, right? And it was interesting. They were really inspired by the documentary, that they want to represent in a way that they want to do it for her, right? Whether it was for Dr. Christine Grant, whether it was the pioneers of our sport or in athletics, whether it's for their teammates, whether it's for their future, and really it's an opportunity to educate, our current athletes to appreciate what they have today, right? They have so many great opportunities to get an education at University of Iowa and compete as a collegiate athlete and student athlete. And for me, I feel like it's sparked opportunities that I want to start bringing in, former college teammates of mine, so that way they understand, the connectivity, as being a teammate, and the long relationships that you can create, I don't know, 20-something years ago kind of thing. And, the pioneer of women's wrestling, who's a world champion, whatnot, and bring them in and close to our team, so that way they know who they are, right? Some of them know Trisha Saunders. She's a 4-time world champion in the U.S. And I'm like, do you guys know who she is? They're like, oh, I won her award once, but might not know, her story. So it's a wake-up call, and a reminder, for me and the program to not lose that, right? Not lose those stories, and to celebrate it.
I think the biggest thing for us, we maybe got a little bit of a quick start last March. We had some T-shirts made for the anniversary of Title IX and have carried those forward, with the celebration this year. And we had one of our best rounds of the year. And so they've, after kind of hearing the story, one of our players was actually in a class learning about Title IX, and she was really inspired by the story of Christine Grant. And so she brought it. Obviously, we've talked about it, but it was just really neat for her to kind of wake up and hear it in a different perspective and then bring it to our team. And so we wore these shirts, and now we had one of our best rounds, and they feel like they're superpower shirts. So, unfortunately, the superpower wore off just a little bit, maybe a little sooner than we wanted to, but we'll bring it back. So, but it was just really neat to see them just get behind it. And then I think also just coming into this year, there's just such a great enthusiasm. And I think some of the biggest things that we've pulled out, Sasha, really from you, from Lisa, who are here and really part of that. Diane Thomason obviously really works closely with our pro. To hear those stories and to embrace it, the biggest thing I think that our team is, how can we support each other and keep moving things forward? I think, when we'll talk about the documentary, but just the excitement of what Hawkeye fans bring every day, and the great things we've accomplished, not only in our men's sports, but also women's. So we really hope to be a part of that the next 50 years, and just really excited for the messaging and how we can continue to be excited for everyone and build our relationships with our athletes.
One of the things that I've always been so proud of at the University of Iowa, since I've had the incredible opportunity to coach here, is to work with you guys. And it is literally an unbelievable head coaching staff. And the camaraderie and the support that I feel from all of the head coaches is not usual. And it is special at the University of Iowa. And I just want to say that last Wednesday night on August 24th, we all made our way to Carver Hawkeye Arena at 6 p.m. And it was really, I think, all of the women's coaches and the women's programs and the women's student athletes and our staff and their families, and you saw young kids, and we had quite a turnout. And we premiered the Unshakable Belief documentary, which is the life story of Dr. Christine Grant. And I want to hear this from you guys, but for me, there was a feeling in Carver Hawkeye Arena of immense power. It was almost like stilled shock, speechlessness after it ended. And I stood up to leave in the aisle at Carver Hawkeye, and the softball team was in front of me. And I was only waiting for my team to pass me. And those softball girls, who I only know from a distance, one by one gave me a hug. And then we started saying, how lucky are we to be Hawkeyes? How lucky are we? This is our superpower. And it was unbelievable. And I carry that to this day with me, and I will never forget that night. Larissa, tell me your thoughts.
Obviously, it's very emotional. I never got to see Dr. Grant before she passed, but she was very special to me, and I was her last hire. It's written differently, but I was her last hire, and she coaxed me through a lot of really rough coaching times. Just the biggest thing I got from her was always to remember who you are. And like you're saying, it's so funny that you use the word superpower, because she always would tell me that that's your superpower. Don't forget who you are. You can't lose your person. Like all of those messages. And then sitting there that night, I think it's so amazing that you felt that way, because normally everybody would have cleared out really quickly, and everybody just kind of hung around. Nobody really wanted to leave. There was just that feeling of connected. And we always try to be connected, but I think for the first time, they all got it. They all understood why. And I think that they know, and this is what I was alluding to earlier, we all know the sacrifices, the barriers, but until you saw it in that documentary, from the start to the finish, like the dumb things, you're sharing shorts. Are you kidding me? Those types of things. Happened to be that some of our athletes got gear that day. And what a difference it would have been if we got one pair of shorts and you shared them among 20 people. Just the realization, yes, you know it, you hear it, you speak of it, but to see it from her and how ridiculous it seemed, but it wasn't. It was an absolute battle for her, and it is our battle cry. And I felt very lucky, blessed to have been anywhere around her and to soak up every ounce of motivation that she had left to her dying moment. I just think that she would have been so proud to have been standing there and to watch all of those women really just click in and get it.
And I felt leaving that there was a whole nother level of pride coming out of every student athlete to have Iowa across your chest.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think that for our team, it was definitely a unifying moment. In listening to the people talk about Dr. Grant and how she led and how she was basically a coach, right? She coached her coaches on what they needed to do. And I think that spirit kind of lives on with all of us. We all call each other friends. We all, more importantly than just colleagues. I mean, the amount of times that we sit in each other's offices and we kind of coach each other through whatever's going on, like, well, this is how I look at it or whatever. I think her spirit lives on in the department, and I think that my team, they talked a little bit about how we want to carry on her legacy and we want to be the example, like not just at the University of Iowa, but nationally. We're going to be the example of how women's athletic programs are be run and how we're going to handle ourselves and perform and things of that nature. So I think it kind of brought down some walls that might not have physically been there between our teams just because they're so busy with what they do in the day in and the day out. But I hope that now we'll have a little bit more Hawks supporting Hawks where they go out and watch each other's events and things like that. I know our team is very excited to do that.
Yeah, I think that was definitely the biggest takeaway for us. There was just kind of a sigh, and then just a wow, this is really exciting. I hope we do a good job in the recruiting process. They're excited to be Hawkeyes, and you try to share that. But I think I was very fortunate to have 4 freshmen that moment. They'd only been on campus for a few days, and there was definitely just a sense of, wow, this is pretty cool. So I want to go out and do really great things, and I think we can feel that just in our practices. And I feel so fortunate. Barbara Burke, Sasha, again, the things that our administration, our coaches are doing behind the scenes to carry things forward and to make the Hawkeye experience better, but even, I think, enhance women's athletics throughout the country. I think when we host events at Iowa, we put on just first-class events. People always say that Iowa City is the place to come, and we really elevate all sports. And so I'm just very proud, but I think took away, there's a lot of work that goes into it, and I need to step up personally. My team needs to step, to continue to carry it forward, because there was so much so much discouragement, so much, hitting walls, but you just have to keep going. So I think our team really left there with more, we have to get it done, a little more grit, a little more, we're not going to take no for an answer, whether we're competing or, facing hard things. So I know we definitely all felt kind of a call to even more to action, and so that was pretty awesome.
Clarissa, I was touched by you at the documentary because you were really emotional.
Oh gosh, you're gonna make me emotional all over again.
Well, it was a really emotional. It's an emotional documentary, and I happened to look at you after the film ended, and you were really tearing up.
And I'm tearing up again. Oh my gosh.
Can you tell us? Can you put it into words a little bit, because I think it's something that is really, really special.
Oh wow. Okay, don't take this as weakness, guys. It's just real emotions.
It's just heart.
Really, like a couple of things, right? When you mentioned like we'll walk for her, it's like a good responsibility for the programs here, the women program at Iowa in athletics, individually pushing our sports forward, right, and kind of taking that baton and moving our programs forward.
And you're doing that.
You're doing that for our team, to recognize that it's bigger than themselves, it's bigger than the program, it's a bigger cause, right? And I was really sad because I never had that opportunity to get to know an amazing woman that has impacted so many people, and will continue to, without, these young athletes even knowing, unless we continue to share her story and.
And you're going to do that for your team.
Yes.
You're going to do that
Absolutely.
for your
Yeah.
team, and you're going to do that for generations of Hawkeyes, which is so cool. And Larissa does it for her team, and Jeff does it for his team, and Megan does it for your team. And I try.
You do very well.
And I think it's timely in these anniversaries and these celebrations that we have these moments of reflection. There is no better time. And I walked out with all of you and was in the parking lot at Carver Hawkeye Arena, and I ran into Caitlin Clark and Kate Martin, and it was one of those things where just everybody was giving everybody hugs, and we were just giving each other hugs. And they also said, that's our superpower.
Yeah.
It's our superpower. And if we make that be our theme and we live that, we're going to have one heck of a year and years to come.
Yeah. I'm so sorry. I don't even know where that.
It's very powerful, though. It's
it
very, very powerful. And when we can tap into that, sky is the limit for the Hawks. Sky is the limit. So I really encourage everybody to be able to have their opportunity. This was a film that was commissioned by the University of Iowa Athletic Department. I'm so proud of the department's financial backing of this project to make this project. It will debut in Iowa City, Iowa, September 9th through the 16th at Film Scene, and tickets are on sale now. It's a great time to go see it in a theater, and they're going to try to spread this out as much as possible so that all of you can experience the superpower of the University of Iowa Women's Athletics Department. As we transition now into kind of thinking about what does the next 50 years look like for Iowa women's athletics, I want to talk about what do you see, what do you want, what do you think the next 50 years are going to bring for athletics and for specifically the University of Iowa and your programs, and it's fun to dream about that.
I know, for women's rowing, we have a very unique opportunity for competitions worldwide. There's a very large race in Henley, England, so we're trying to bring the brand worldwide, let everyone know what goes on here in Iowa City, Iowa. Like I said, we're fortunate enough to have a very large roster, and on that roster we have women from all over the world. Like I said, Wellington, New Zealand, all the way to Waverly, Iowa, and everything in between. So I want to, grow on what we already have in these first 50 years, and I want the message that we all just talked about to be spread, right, to affect change in more women's lives all over the world, not just here in the United States and in Iowa. So my hope is that we can all kind of branch out and get the message out to more people.
I know one thing I'm very excited about in our sport, and I think probably for all of our sports, is how much more TV coverage that there's going to be of women's athletics on TV. And so I know that doesn't necessarily just start right here at Iowa, but I hope that, I just think I have 3 daughters. I know we have a lot of daughters at the table and kind of just looking at that, but we can see these figures. Larissa, you were mentioning some of the famous ones, the ones that have really laid, but I just think there's so many great stories in college athletics, and I really hope, I always loved it when Dr. Grant says women in sports. It just is such a powerful way that she would always say that, and I just think that we want more of that. We want young leaders, we want women to continue to thrive, and I think obviously we're very proud of our athletics at Iowa, but we're also proud of the academics and just the overall leaders that we develop here, and so I just hope we continue to really push that story, and we're the pioneers. What can we do differently to continue to enhance opportunities for our women, not only here in sport, but after they leave here, because we continue to just, I think, put out some really outstanding professionals, whether they're in sports or in their careers.
Yeah, those are all good.
Larissa, what do you think for the sport of gymnastics?
Certainly the big buzzword has got to be opportunity. But I think that I thought a lot about this, and more so since we saw the documentary, because it's not about things. It's about a mentality. And yes, we didn't have this, we didn't have that, but the opportunity wasn't there. And the opportunity wasn't there because the mentality about what we were was not there. And so for me, I am hoping, praying, pushing, fighting that we're all seen on an equal playing field. That's where we have to be. And that has to start with us. And that has to start with us teaching our young women that they are always welcome at every table, that there is no table that they don't get to sit at, that there is no moment that they're not allowed to be in. And I think that, starting with our incoming, every freshman, every new person, every new coach that comes in, I think the strongest message that we can send is there is nothing that you cannot do. You came here for a reason. You came here because you want to accomplish this, this, and this, and we can do that. And we can provide those doors. And we have the opportunity to do that for you. But if they don't think that they deserve that first, it's lost. So I do think it's just a little bit more, and that's a lot harder.
That's right.
To change, especially in gymnastics. It's years and years and years of a mentality. The philosophy of our program and maintaining who you are as a person, separating that from the athlete that you are. That's what you do. It's not who you are. And discovering who that is, I feel like I have a renewed, fight to push the side of, I deserve that. Not that there's the opportunity. No. If it's not there, create it. Make it.
I'm thinking, when you're speaking, I'm remembering Ruth Bader Ginsburg's quote about when will we have enough women on the Supreme Court?
Yeah.
She said when we have 9.
Yes, absolutely.
There's been 9 men for a long time. I think it goes to the point that you just don't put any barriers, and you go as far as you can go. And when we as leaders create cultures that allow that without putting any sort of obstacles in our way, the sky's the limit. And I think sport provides an amazing opportunity for us to do that, but it also comes from culture and from mindsets. And I think that's what we are building every single day within our own teams and within the athletic department. I think that's really exciting. And when I think about you, Clarissa, man, we're going to look back 50 years from now, and this will be the very beginning of D1 women's wrestling. We have no idea where you're going to go from here. What an exciting time.
Yeah, and it goes, I think it's very much so like do, be, have, right? Like do wrestling or do gymnastics, do rowing, be who you are, and then have those opportunities, right? Rather than waiting on those opportunities, like having those opportunities and then doing and being you, right? So I think for the next 50 years, or hopefully sooner, women's wrestling is still an emerging sports like status right now, and we would want to compete against other Big Ten programs, big Power 5 conferences and Ivies, and just grow the sport. And at the end of the day, for women in athletics, we just want to empower the women that come through collegiate athletics,
So I have a couple thoughts on that too, because I actually really believe that the next 50 years, where I see the change, I agree with you, Megan, in terms of media and coverage and the publicity, and I would love to see that, you sell out at your meets, Larissa, and that we sell out women's wrestling meets, and we get all sorts of people following around women's golf at Finkbine and on the river and at HTRC when we're playing tennis. And I think really being able to tell our stories and have our community understand the product that we're producing and the value that it's creating in the lives of these young women will create an amazing snowball effect that will be able to grow these sports in really, really powerful ways. And so what I also think the next 50 years will unveil for us, because we are young, we are just now coming into where we have enough alums who have reaped the benefits of the great experiences of being a part of athletics, that are now in a position where they can start to know the value of this experience and contribute back to ensuring that this experiences continue for many more generations. And so what I would love to see is women supporting women, especially our alums and other women that have been impacted by the sport experience, to continue to double down in whatever way that might be, whether that is attendance or whether that's financial and donor support, to be able to get back and contribute to make sure that we are allowing these opportunities and expanding them for more and more women to grow, because we all can attest to the leadership qualities that come through sport. And on that note, the University of Iowa has a HERkys program, which is a program, it's a capital HER, which has 3 pillars: support, empower, and engage. And within those pillars, we're really trying to raise the profile of Iowa women's athletics, and I can't wait to see where that is in 50 years. Talk a little bit about what the HERkys program, what you think of that, and what that means to you and your program, and how you're communicating about that with your alums.
We've been trying to find some different ways, I think, to pull them in. The podcast has been, amazing, I think, just to get some of our alums back in contact and hear the stories of maybe people they played with, or other, great stories of some other women that are currently in our athletic program. So we've definitely been pushing that a lot. And then I think our players talking about it. We're going to host a women's golf clinic October 22nd with the mission of kind of the support to come out and get to know our team, and for our athletes to spend some time with women, and our goal for the year is to have a ring of 50 women that give to our program. So whether that's alums or women in the community, but just to kind of circle our program, it was kind of our mission, and we're very excited about that. So we're going to kind of kick it off with our golf. We want our players to give back. We want them to see them in action, but we also want them to lead in that respect and tell them a little bit about their story, and and hopefully we can encourage some of these women to circle around us and help us move things forward with our golf program.
I love that idea. Yeah, I love that idea.
Can I sign up for that clinic? Sorry.
No, I think the empowerment of young women is such a powerful tool for all of us as coaches. And, in our program with Women's Rowing, we talk a lot about how empowering you to do more and be more than you maybe thought you were when you walked in the door and when you walk out in 4 years. And just a stewardship where, you pay it forward, where it was good for you while you were here, but let's make it better for future generations. And what does that look like? Maybe it's a financial gift. Maybe it's time. Maybe it's sitting down and giving career advice to one of our young women. And then just be kind of a shining example of what an Iowa athlete is, so that I can point to you when you graduate and say, see, they did it, you can do it too. So I think that empowerment comes in many different ways, shapes, and forms, and just trying to build off of that and move everything forward.
The whole concept of women celebrating women right now, I think, is something that is really powerful. And like you said, you just feeling the fired up energy about this, And at this time, as we move into a new phase, Clarissa, you are about ready to move into like an amazing facility right off the bat.
Yeah, I walked into a gold mine here.
Seriously.
I think the existing facility is amazing, coming from, we don't have that anywhere else across the country. So, thank you to the brands, coaches and everyone behind that and getting that facility, going.
I have to tell a really quick Coach Brand story. So last Wednesday when we were at Carver for the documentary, I kind of glanced up the concourse at Carver, and there, sitting all by himself at the top of the concourse, was Coach Tom Brands. Oh, my heart. Like he doesn't have enough things to do, and he took his time and sat there. And I also will say that the following morning at 6:45 on my porch when I was having coffee, I got a call from Coach Brands. And he's like, that was unbelievable. Just love that man.
Yeah.
Megan, you have an incredible facility and are entering into the next 50 years with an incredible clubhouse.
Yeah, I think that's a really fitting for us. I think, just the support that we've had to be able to enhance our facilities has been unbelievable. We really feel like we have our home away from home, just a couple minutes. But the most exciting thing, I think, is that clubhouse and what it's created for our community and a place to come. I think everybody enjoys coming out to Bumps and sitting on the patio, and there's nothing better than watching the sunset out there. And I think our hope as a staff and people that obviously love golf is, I hope we see a lot more young women's golfers out there. And, when you can provide a place for families to come, hang out, engage, it's just a very positive thing. So we're very fortunate right now to have Jordan Amelon on our team, an Iowa City native. Her mom's right here, which is great, but they have literally probably lived at Finkbine more than at their home. So I'm glad that we have enhanced their home out there, because now they have a nice place to take dinner from or to be out there. So it's just been a really special place, and I hope that we can create more golfers from Iowa, from surrounding areas, and that was really very special for our community.
And Jeff, you've got the state-of-the-art facility of all crew programs.
Yeah, very fortunate to have the P. Sue Beckwith, boathouse here on campus. It is a world-class facility. We have athletes and visitors come from all over the world, and our facility is better than most national teams, and we're pretty lucky to have one of probably 5 facilities nationwide that is dedicated just to female athletes that is on campus and things of that nature. And we're really proud about the fact that it's the first building at the University of Iowa named after a woman. So just keeping the theme going that, we're first.
And Larissa, you are going to be a part of the next 50 years and the phase that's coming to the University of Iowa. Let's talk a little bit about plans to enhance facilities over on the west side of campus, which includes a gymnastics facility that will be combined with Spirit Squad. tell us a little bit about your vision for this facility and what it would mean to your program to be able to get this to completion.
I think it will be almost like, it will feel like, for me, the culmination of the fight. You know, I feel like for a long time we've made miracles where we are, and we've had fantastic young women come and go in those facilities, including my current assistant coach, Jessa Hansen, was my athlete, which kind of tells you how old I am, but I digress. And for her to be able to come back, and she's coaching with me now, to see what she came from and to be able to have a part in building a new facility and watching everyone that she's now bringing in as a coach, have the opportunity to build something new, to start again, to create a different vision of what we could actually be when we have the best of everything. We feel like we've got it pretty good. We've got everything among our team. I think, and I tell every recruit that comes here, every place is going to have a learning center, somewhat a decent facility, that we're all going to have relatively the same things, but you will never, ever find a team or a staff like mine. I will put them up against anybody in the world. They are, bar none, the best people, and I just feel like it's so hard to find good human beings these days. So I feel grateful that I get to go on this journey with them and look at building a new facility, working with Spirit Squad and the dance team, and what we could possibly make that out there together, instead of staying separate, because I feel like there's a component and aspect of all of that in all three of our sports. So I think it's an exciting time, not only just, you know, women's sports, women's gymnastics. We're coming off of Adeline Kenlin having gone to the national championship and finishing second. On balance beam. And she's an Iowa City native. She grew up here. What a better story. You know, I'm very hopeful that she wants to take another year, so I'm very hopeful that we'll be in a new facility by then. And I think once that's there, the opportunity for recruiting at the next level, it's so crucial to have that little piece. And where we could go, I feel like the sky's the limit.
So it is really exciting. So the HERkys campaign will be looking to really take off into a next level. And the HERkys campaign in the next 50 years will include fundraising for the new Gymnastics Spirit Squad facility, upgrades to our softball facility, the new field hockey operations building, a new athletic training room, refueling room, weight room, strength and conditioning room, all out of the West Side campus. So the vision of what that West Side campus can develop into is going to be state of the art. And I think this also links back to knowing our history and knowing how much pride we have in our history and how many times we were first. We were first in the nation in so many ways, and using that to motivate us to continue to be first in so many ways with our facilities and our commitment and our success. And can't encourage enough of all of our Hawkeye fans to support this great endeavor and to support the HERkys campaign and to support the ongoing efforts to give all of our student athletes the best facilities for them to train and compete with, and to become leaders in the world. So we have a lot to look forward to, and we need everyone's help. So this has got to be a team effort, and we're calling on all of our community, everyone that knows the value of athletics, all of our alums, to get out there. And the next 50 years, it will take all of us working together to be able to double down on Iowa women's athletics and literally make it be the continuing legacy of wonderful, historic first and trailblazers as we move into more trailblazing ahead. I want to thank all of you guys for coming out today and joining me at Fry Fest. You are all incredibly busy, and there's recruiting over a football weekend, there's practice, and I appreciate all of you. And I am lucky to work with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Go Hawks.
As always, we always sign off that way, right? As always, go Hawks!
This has been HERkys Voice. The mission of the HERkys program is to help our Hawkeye community learn, support, and engage with Iowa women's athletics. To learn more about the HERkys initiative, visit HERkys.HawkeyeSports.com. Hawkeye fans, remember to hit the subscribe button on your favorite podcast app. Once you become a Fight for Iowa podcast subscriber, you'll automatically receive the latest episodes of the Fight for Iowa podcast, the HERkys Voice podcast, Hawk Talk replays, exclusive game day content, and more. The preceding has been a Learfield presentation on the Hawkeye Sports Network.